So I've come up with an idea for a product, I think, based on your...
Is it something we can sell?
Of course it's something we can sell. I reckon I could sell anything to anybody.
Yeah.
And it's a product, I think, to help your troubled elbows because... I know that they've...
So not only can we sell it, but it will help out my elbows. Okay,
Your elbows have experienced the harsh tundra of Sydney winter. So now I've come up with a genius idea.
Okay, what does it tell me?
It's a chapstick for an elbow.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, a big chapstick.
Oh, like a giant one.
Chapstick.
Like the exact girth of an elbow.
That's right. I don't know. It's very early to use the word girth, but anyway, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. Okay. We need to get this on the market.
We do.
Okay.
I'm going to start working on this in my little brain, see what I can think of.
Yeah. What are we going to call it? We need like a good snappy name for it, I reckon.
A snappy name. I mean, where could we go with this? A giant chapstick for the elbow.
Yeah. The elbow chap.
The elbow.
Elbow helpo.
The elbow is the eye of the arm, isn't it? It's like the eyes of the face. It's the eye of the arm. Well, you know, we could call it. What are those things called that girls used to love in the 90s and 2000s?
And they smelt like fruit.
Yeah. So my sister had all of those things. They smelt like cherry and watermelon and like lemonade.
Was it lip smackers?
Yes, Bonnie Bell lip smackers. We can call it Belbows. Like elbows, but Belbows. Like, imagine.
I love it. Belbows. Get your Belbows on.
I can see caps. I can see sweaters. I can see Belbows written across it.
Don't leave the house without Belbows.
Wow, you've got such beautiful, smooth elbows. What have you done to them? Belbows.
I love your Belbows today.
Roll up. Get your Belbows. Get your Belbows. Fresh Belbows.
My elbows are dry, damaged, brittle. I wish they were soft and silky.
Well, have we got a product for you? New Belbows, available from Fruity Alexia.
Okay, well, TM and trademark.
Yeah, nobody can steal our ideas.
Yeah.
It's our idea.
Let's get these into production right now.
Literally going to Google how to do that right now.
Excellent. Well, I think we've got our first piece of merch sorted.
I'm excited.
Should we get on with the show?
Let's.
Can you feel it?
Welcome back to Fruity Alexia. This is episode 5, and I am Alexander.
And I'm Alex. Is it 5 already?
And it is great to have your company with us on this day, this important day where we have coined Belbows. You heard it here first, folks. Belbows. It's the biggest new beauty product trend craze thing. It's going to take over the world.
Yeah, pre-order them now.
Yeah, look out, Kylie Jenner. I'm coming for you. Youngest self-made billionaire in America. I'm going to be the oldest self-made, gay, bald, bearded billionaire-ish in Australia, I guess.
Yeah. I'm just thinking through it. Like, are they going to be able to fit into a handbag?
Well, we'll start a new trend.
Or is it going to be a scaled-up chapstick?
Yeah, we'll start a new trend. We'll bring in bigger handbags. We'll bring bigger handbags back.
Yeah, brilliant.
We have the power, Alex.
Speaking of coining things, I've been editing these podcasts, and rather than writing out Fruity Alexia podcast on all my file names every time, I've just been writing FAP, which I thought was quite funny and perhaps a little bit apt.
Like FAP, like WAP, like Cardi B WAP?
Well, you're going to hate me, but I don't really know what that is.
Oh my share. Are you serious? How can you... Firstly, do you know who Cardi B is? That's the first question.
Yeah, only because she got her name from Bacardi, right? But just switched the letters around.
Okay, not really, no. You've got to go and watch the Jimmy Fallon interview where she explains how she got her name. But yeah, it's kind of where she kind of gets it from. It's her sister's got a name. I think her sister's name's Hennessy, and so the nickname for her is Bacardi, and it got shortened to Cardi B. And there's a whole... Because I think her real name is something like, I don't know,
Balthazar.
Not Balthazar, but it's something like that. Bella, I know it's something. It's kind of something fabulous. Then she got this nickname. But in any case, we digress. Cardi B is fantastic, and this, I can't believe you don't know this terribly scandalous song that came out a few months ago, WAP.
Yeah, it rings a bell. Was it just...
And it stands for something that I don't know that... Well, we can say it on here. Can I say it on here?
Oh, I do know what
do you think it stands for?
Well, I do. Yeah, I know what it stands for. And it's not... I don't know. I'm too much of a prude to say it. It's not about the language.
Okay, I'll let you say one word.
The first word's wet, right?
Huh?
Wet.
Yeah, wet.
And then arse would be the...
Yes,
yeah.
and then what's the last word? Tell us, Alex. Go on, say it.
No. People can Google that much and have like a filter on before you do, I think, especially if you're at work.
Pussy.
Yeah.
Pussy.
There you go.
Pussy. Wet ass pussy.
Yeah.
Or I think if you're in America, it'd be wet ass pussy.
Okay, right.
It probably sounds a little bit boring when you... Bit sort of staid and boring when you say wet ass pussy. But yes, wet ass pussy.
Yeah. And why are we talking about this again?
Because of FAP.
Oh, yeah,
FAP,
That's right,
WAP,
yeah.
FAP.
So hashtag FAP. You can tag us on Instagram, FAP.
Hashtag FAP.
Yeah.
I don't know what people will think that stands for, but sure.
Fruity Alexia podcast, of course.
Sure.
Anyway, it's very clear that I've been living under a rock. I mean, I'm in Sydney and I'm stuck indoors in a nice little lockdown, which is fun.
You're in the Locky D.
Yeah, but you managed to make it down to Hobart over the weekend.
I did. Very fortunate that I live in Brisbane and my family are largely in Tasmania.
Yeah.
So, the two places that really are kind of free to live generally as they need to, as they can, as they want to. And so I got to pop down for a very quick fleeting 48-hour visit to Hobart to see my family, which was really nice.
Do you enjoy going back?
I do enjoy going back. I also enjoy leaving.
Yeah.
But it's nice to go down there and see everybody, and it's crazy how, I've lived away now for longer than I lived there.
Yeah. And every time I go back, I sort of forget how pretty it is there. Like, it's really nice down there. Yeah. Although sometimes, like if I'm walking through the city or something, I sort of get a bit stuck on the things that haven't changed more than the things that have, I think. But
same.
Once I got over that, I'm like, oh, it's really nice down here.
I'm amazed at how much I know and remember all the directions everywhere and how to drive everywhere and where to go, and it just can't believe that I still remember all of that and how to get everywhere. But every time I get home, I am sort of struck by its beauty, and I love getting off the plane because in Hobart, for those of you that haven't been to Hobart, you get off the plane and you walk down like a little ramp.
Hobart International Airport. Yep.
Hobart International Airport. And you get off the plane, you walk down a little gangway onto the tarmac. So you actually walk across the tarmac. And I love, as soon as I get on the tarmac, I love sort of taking this big deep breath and kind of taking in all this beautiful, fresh, clean air. And I just immediately feel sort of cleansed and purified and peaceful. I think, yes, it's so great to be here. And then you get outside the airport and you start seeing, all the uncared for nature strips that the council has kind of let go to rack and ruin. And you start seeing people kind of heckle you out the side of some kind of dilapidated minivan, oh, I love your coat. I've got an idea. How about if you just fuck off? Love my coat from afar. Keep your opinion to yourself. Wind your window up and go to the dentist. Pretty much that's how I feel about people when I'm leaving the airport.
That's such a specific example.
It was very specific.
Anyway, we digress.
We do.
We're here to talk about Bardo, of course, and the wonderful reality television series, Popstars Australia. And I've got a bit of a confession. I got excited watching this the other day and watched about 3 or 4 episodes ahead.
Alex!
I know. And now actually it's bad because I'm a bit confused about like what we're talking about today and what I've already seen ahead. But
well, that's very disappointing. And I can assure everybody listening at home or wherever you are, I have not watched ahead. I am staying true to my word and I'm watching episode by episode as we record so that I can retain my fresh perspective.
Yeah. But you know what? In a way, I'm glad I did because it just got me so excited because it's less about like this massive group of people and it just focuses in on the band. And I really forgot just how much, like this was the biggest news story of the year 2000, right? Like
it was huge.
Yeah, it was massive. Like it was the coronavirus of the year 2000. Like it took over that much of the news.
It was. I mean, other than the Olympics that same year,
Yeah.
it was the biggest thing on television. You know, it was the
Olympics, Olympics.
the year 2000, the Y2K thing. You know, everyone thought the world was going to end at midnight in 1999.
Yeah.
I remember sitting up listening to Jennifer Lopez, thinking, right, well, here's the countdown. Here's when the whole world blows up. All the computers won't be able to handle it because they won't know how to handle the date change.
Too much J-Lo.
And then, no, just kept playing J-Lo, and into the year 2000 we went. So we survived. We survived the new millennium. And then we had this phenomenon, this Popstars phenomenon, as a precursor to the Olympics. I mean, it was a big year, 2000.
It was, wasn't it?
Big year.
All right, let's get into it then. Okay, so a little bit of a recap. So this episode, we're reminded of the final 10 contestants in the exact same montage that they had at the end of the previous episode. And then, of course, the super catchy theme song begins. Who are those mystery dancing ladies? Blurred out. Did you ever think about that? Like, who are those dancers? Anyway, like, are they disqualified from being in the competition? Who knows?
I think they're just some Ministry of Dance dancers, probably.
Right, yeah. And they're probably from the New Zealand series anyway. In the first scene, the judges play with what looks like a memory game, matching up the band, sort of, you know, they've got a row of 5 and they're sort of switching photos around.
Yeah.
Trying to fit the best kind of mix of the group together. And then the rest of the show is just the judges doing home visits, either rejecting the finalists or trying to do a misled or slightly embarrassing sort of switcheroo where they pretend the contestant hasn't gotten in, but then they finally reveal that they have, to some very mixed reactions.
So strange. It was so weird to watch back because they're a little bit sort of, I'm in. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I in?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's
No
so
confetti,
weird to watch.
no nothing. But of course, it's very exciting to find out who the 5 pop stars are.
Alexia.
So, yes, a few awkward exchanges is like, it's definitely like proto-reality TV, this episode, isn't it?
Oh, very. I mean, the whole thing has been so, crudely produced, as I've said many times before, but this bit really is. I mean, this is so shonky.
Yeah.
This is like shonky backwater community television BS.
Yeah.
This is some shady fucking camera work, some shady fucking amateur editing, some bullshit production. It's pretty fucked, really. When you see it kind of roll out, you just think there is no glamour, there's no build up, there's no hype, there is no like narrative to the episode.
No.
You just see that little pre-cut package at the beginning where they're kind of placing photos around and they're like, oh, she's very similar to her, and oh, she's very similar to her, and you can imagine the conversation that they're having, but that's all you get is you imagine the conversation they're having.
Yeah.
And then they just cut to this, the rest of the episode is just the judges walking up people's front paths to tell them if they did or didn't get in. It's the weirdest, like, most uninspiring thing.
Like, can you imagine if on MasterChef they finished the final 10 by going into their houses, like, unprepared with one camera.
Yeah.
Like, no confetti, no, nothing. It was just very basic and awkward.
Well, I can't think of a reality show where they really do that now. I mean, going to their house is a crazy. I mean, you imagine if you're one of the top 10, right, and you know that they're coming to, like, if you are or aren't in the band, surely you would think in your mind, well, they're not going to come to my house and knock me back with a camera crew, surely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I don't
true.
think anybody would go, they're going to come and knock me back and they're bringing a camera crew. I reckon all of those top 10 girls all thought that they were in.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's my guess. Because as if you wouldn't, it was the first time this had been done. Still freaking so weird that they thought, we'll go to people's house and reject them on national television.
Yeah.
In their home.
Yeah.
It's different to do it in a studio or a soundstage, but we're going to do it in their house. And then be like, bye.
And, like, the judges aren't really doing a very good job either. Like, especially Jackie O. I think she's not very good because they're trying to do this thing of, we had a lot to choose from and it was very difficult, and, like, make it feel like they're about to be rejected, and then they go, and ta-da, you're in. And it's very forced from Jackie O. And, the reality format was very new, of course, and there was nothing to compare it to. But, like, she'd probably been told to do it by the producers on the way and never really practiced it. And then suddenly she's sitting there facing the contestant thinking of how this plays out on the fly. And it's just not
totally. I mean, she was so new to that world also. Don't forget, that was the other thing. And I reckon she's just sort of been bungled off the airplane into a cab, and on the way, somebody's gone, "Oh, Jackie, this would be really funny. Let's do this. It'll be great TV." And she's gone, "Okay." And then sort of in the moment, she's had to kind of wing it, and poor thing, it's not delivered particularly well, and it's not got great finesse to it, and it really is misread most of the time by the contestants who are listening to it. They're just like, "Oh,
yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah,
oh, I'm in."
They just look confused, don't they? And actually, like contrary to that, Chris Moss actually does quite a good job of it, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, clearly
he's probably done it a lot because he's at Warner and music, and he's probably rejected a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, he's got the script already in his head. Although I think he's starting to creep me out more and more each episode. Like one of them answers the door in her nightie, and just the grin on his face when she closes the door to put something proper on is like, it gives me creeps a little bit. But who knows? It's all editing, these reality shows, isn't it? So.
Well, I don't know. Is it all editing? In this series, it's not all editing.
No.
In this series, it literally is like play, pause, editing. That's what it feels like. That's about as edited as this gets.
Yeah. And then, Michael Napthali, one of the other judges, he goes around, I can't remember who it is, but he comes out and they're sort of interviewing him on the street afterwards, and he makes a statement, something
I think it's Sophie.
That's Sophie, yeah. Yeah, because he's talking about how, gregarious she is and jovial.
Yeah.
And he sort of comes out and goes, rock music in general, it can be so po-faced sometimes. And, I wasn't entirely sure what po-faced meant, so I Googled it, and a picture of Michael Napthali came up as the definition.
Okay, that's not actually true.
No,
but
it's not true.
What does it mean, Alex? Tell the world.
It's like
what does po-faced
stern
mean?
and austere and takes itself very seriously, which is him. And also rock music. Like he's not making rock music. The show is called Popstars.
I know. And also, I love that he says that, but even he doesn't even manage any rock stars either. That's the only thing. Like, he manages pop stars, and this is a show about pop stars, and these girls are being pop stars. There's nothing rock about it. I don't know if in his mind...
Just because he hangs out with Red Simons on Saturday nights?
No, it wouldn't even be Red Simons. He would literally be like... He would be like thinking like, rock music, I'm in the music industry, oh yeah, grungy, house rock. He'd be like passing, Daniel Johns or whatever, in a local
He's got
IGA
Regurgitator in his teledeck,
Yeah. He would think because he has a Regurgitator single that he is into rock music, bless.
Luckily, this episode's more about the contestants. So there's 10, and then they have to get rid of 5 so they can have the final band. So should we chat through the losers first and then move on to the winners?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah.
And I think the weird thing about this was, it's the first time we're getting a good look at many of them.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing because you're seeing these people in really for the first time, but they're getting rejected. So it's a bit hard to kind of get a read on whether they were that good or not anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just like, oh, you're in or oh, you're out. And you're kind of like, oh, I guess the right decision was made here. You don't really know, do you? As a viewer, you don't really know that they were or weren't.
You don't really have a
sure thing.
Yeah. So it's funny. And I think they sort of edited it so the ones we kind of knew were going to be in are at like the beginning and the end.
Yeah, I think so too. I do think that it was obvious that it was pretty obvious who they were going to pick by the editing.
Yeah.
Shonky editing as it was. But definitely I thought it was quite strange because, we got these little sort of moments, these little backstories and little snippets of information about these people who were going to be rejected. I don't know if they thought, oh, well, this is a bit of a consolation prize. We'll give them their 15 minutes of fame with a bit of a backstory about their career or their experience. And every, time that a new judge turned up to one of the houses to, knock somebody back or put them in the band, the narrator kind of came across with some little very, very quick bio for each girl.
Yeah, that's right.
What they'd done, where they trained, all their experience, how fabulous they were, and then they got the okay or the not okay vote from the judge. And it was a bit weird because you're kind of like, oh, so this person who we've not seen at all has had 17 years experience?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're not in?
Yeah.
What? It was really strange.
And I think the first one that they knocked back is Brie Cahill, and she's a good example of this where they're sort of like, oh, she's trained in ballet since she was a toddler and blah, blah, blah. And they sort of tell her, I think, that she's too theatre-y and that's why she doesn't get into the band, like in the mix of it. It's not that you're not talented enough.
Well, like Jackie O sits down and Yeah, she sits down with her and she goes, we had to take a lot of things into account, like age, personality, dancing ability, and singing ability, obviously. And I would say that, Brie Cale is one of the better singers, definitely, of the whole lot. The snippets that you've got there and in other parts that other things I've seen or heard of her. But, when she's had 8 years training with the National Theatre and 16 years ballet training, I don't know. You just kind of start getting this impression of, okay, well, they're really fitting character molds here. It's very much like they're fitting roles, like casting roles. They've kind of decided who they're doing, for that reason. But the thing I loved about Brie Cale, I loved her little cardigan over her floral dress.
Oh, I didn't spot it.
She had like a little twin, like almost like a little kind of like 2-button sort of thing. It was a cute little cardi over her little floral dress.
Yeah.
And it was super, super cute and very of the time.
Right, yeah.
And, she was very pretty and excited and smiley, and she kind of knew that she wasn't in by saying, oh yeah, look, I know that I was probably too theatery. And Jackie O comes out and kind of says to her, I think she knew that she was too theatery and she's going to have a great career ahead of her anyway, and blah blah blah, as if that's some kind of concession for being chucked off this group on TV. And she says, oh yeah, look, I didn't think I was going to get in, I'm probably too classical and the other girls are more funky. And, on the funky side. And I remember at the time, the word funky was making like a post-1970s comeback.
Yeah.
I fucking love the word funky. I used it way too much.
Oh, yeah.
And
we could have called this Funky Alexia anyway.
Oh, we should have.
It doesn't make as much sense.
Well, too late now, isn't it? But, so I thought that was kind of a cute little moment there. But, she kind of had the last laugh about Popstars because she went on to do Pop-Tarts, the spoof group that was on Good News Week.
Yeah. I did, speaking of, I did miss the cardigan, but I loved her mum's haircut. It was I think I've gone on before about the mod look that I was talking about and how it really suits older people. I think if you're unsure of where to go and you're getting a bit older,
pursue a fringe.
Look up mod haircuts. I think hairdressers in Australia don't really know what it is because I've asked for it a few times and they just give me a blank stare. I had to explain to someone who John Lennon was once. Anyway, that's a whole other story for another day.
How embarrassing.
The problem with that story is I come out of it looking the worst. So anyway, I'll tell it another time.
Okay.
But, the Brie Cahill, they're in there sitting on these Chesterfield couches, which at the time, back in those days, and, of course I've changed my mind now, but I thought it was at the time, the Chesterfield was a symbol of wealth and snobbery, and they've got one of those cupboards in the background with the Royal Doulton and the Spode sort of on display in the background.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Like you put your plates up.
Look, if she's had 16 years of ballet training and 8 years at the National Theatre, they must have a fair chunk of coin, that family.
So I sort of compared to all the other contestants, I sort of went, I've got your number, Brie. I know that type.
You do. Look, I agree. I totally could feel it too. In contrast to that, is Tiffany, where Chris Moss turns up, and Chris Moss is like, he can't find her apartment, and the narrator says it, and he kind of walks past the apartment and walks back and tries to figure it, and then finally he finds Tiffany's apartment, and it has starfish stuck on the front door, like dried starfish.
Yeah, but like the sort of pastel with glitter. Everyone remembers these.
She's bought them from the Reject shop or something, or someone has. Anyway, and then he knocks on the door and she opens it. She just kind of holds it too, and she's sort of squinting. She's kind of asleep, half asleep, and she's like, "Oh, I'm in my nightie. I've got to put some clothes on."
Yeah.
Just the funniest thing, because it's not like she didn't know that they were coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe she's gone out for like a drink the night before or something, and she's like, "I'm going to party hard because tomorrow I'm going to be in a pop band or something." And then this is kind of, she's opened the door. She's like, "Oh, I forgot you." Like, "Oh, I'm in a nightie. I'm sorry. Let me just get dressed." And she shuts the door on them, and Chris Moss looks like the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. It's so funny.
But then she opens up the door again and she's still sort of buttoning her trousers up.
I know. When she opens it properly, you get a peek inside what is like a little bed set, like a studio apartment with the bed in the living room. And the covers are just flung off and open. So I think she's really just like rolled out of bed to open the door and gone, "Oh shit." And she's shut the door, pulled on some jeans, hasn't even pulled the bed covers over, and she's still buttoning up the jeans as the door opens for a second time. It's so funny. I love it so much. She's like shoving or washing away in like these little basket drawers. It's really, really It's really funny. It's like, and he's sort of sitting there with her on the edge of her bed.
I
And
know,
you can kind of see the covers up around them behind.
Have you ever lived in a bedsit?
No, I haven't lived in a bedsit. Unfortunately, I haven't been as lucky as some. But have you, Alex?
Look, I have. Yeah, I lived in a place. I could do the washing up while I was still in bed. But it's they're kind of okay. I think you get used to it really quickly. I think the worst part was I was like sharing the shower with everyone on the level that I was living on. That was pretty gross.
Revolting.
But other than that,
where did you do that? Was that in Sydney?
No, this was in London. Yeah.
Gross.
But I was living so central. Yeah. So it was worth it.
No way. I mean, the idea of it, a little bedsit would be cute. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
If you have your own bathroom. You could not pay me to share a bathroom with strangers. How absolutely revolting. I've never been backpacking either. So that tells you a lot about me. I mean, I'll backpack, but probably it's going to be a Vibe or an Ibis hotel. That's my version of backpacking. The lowest form of hotel you can find.
Tiffany, she can't be earning that much though if she's in a bedsit, because I think they say she's working at the Hilton. Is that right?
Yeah, so it looks like she's sort of, they do a shot of her at work, which I think is really interesting because not many people got these kind of pre-done packages.
Yeah.
And you get this shot of her in her uniform. I don't know if she's folding something or she's writing something at the Hilton, and they say she works there, and they say she's a lead singer for a band. But I was thinking, it's interesting that they bothered to film that.
Yeah,
sort of
like they've gone to her workplace.
In situ packaged at a workplace.
It's almost like they know.
It's almost like they know.
Yeah.
Almost like they know. I wonder if that was done later.
Yeah. This is where me having watched ahead becomes a problem because I know the answer to this.
Oh, okay. Well, don't tell me because I haven't watched it ahead.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And, when, Chris Moss is sort of sitting there chatting to her and he's sort of talking about, working out the combination, everyone in their own right deserves to be a part of it. And, and he sort of says, I'm sorry that, you're not in the group. And she says, yeah, I did think that, or I thought so. And he said, oh, why did you? And she said, oh, I was really sick during the week of auditions.
Yeah,
in Sydney,
which sounds like an excuse a little bit, maybe.
It sounds a little bit like an excuse, especially given we saw the other footage of her saying she drank 6 glasses of champagne.
And now she's clearly hungover from, after work drinks at the Hilton. Yeah.
But also, I mean, maybe she had a feeling anyway, just because of how people were interacting with each other and, in the actual week in that town hall, wherever they were auditioning.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what she means about, she had a feeling about it. She's just kind of come up with a really sick excuse anyway. It's sort of like, I think a lot of performers do that. A lot of people, when you finish a show, someone will say, oh, that was fantastic. Well done and a great performance. And you'll kind of go, oh, well, look, I could have done better. I wasn't feeling well, or my throat wasn't quite right, or I didn't really perform my best. And it's like a sort of an ingrained thing in a lot of performers, I think, to kind of fob off when they did well. They can't accept the praise. It's a bit uncomfortable for people who like the attention. They don't like that one-on-one kind of praise.
Yeah.
And that's quite a common thing. And I had actually an acting teacher once who said to me, when an audience member or a viewer says to you, or a listener says to you, you did a great job tonight, you did a great show, well done, whatever, always thank them.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Always be gracious and thank them, because it is you don't want to disrespect what their experience was of your performance. You might have had a sore throat. They don't know that.
I totally agree. It's like going out at if you go out at the curtain call and everyone's clapping and you just turned around and walked off, it's the equivalent of doing that. You've got to sort of acknowledge that they sat there, paid attention to what you were doing, and they had their own experience of it. So
they paid money, they showed up, they enjoyed it. They enjoyed it enough to tell you to your face that they enjoyed it. And then to say to them, oh, look, I think I could have done better, is actually like saying, well, you kind of got a bum steer here.
Yeah, you came on a shit night,
Yeah, so I don't know. So from that time, when that acting teacher told me, I never ever said again, oh, I could have done better. I just always was like, thank you. So I kind of get why Tiffany's a bit like that here.
A very wise acting teacher you had.
I can see how that would be her default.
I guess it's different because she's being rejected as well, So they're telling her, you did a bad job. You didn't do a good enough job. Although I think Chris Moss does keep going sort of, you're very talented.
Yeah, he does. And she is. I mean, that's the thing too. She sings in a cover band and she is fantastic. That's the thing with Tiffany that I can't kind of get over. And if you've watched ahead, you probably have a better idea than I do. I can't for the life of me figure out why they just didn't pick her from the get-go. But anyway, because she's so great. But anyway, we digress. We've got to get back to the other losers. So
if we didn't digress, this would be about 5 minutes long though. So.
I know, that's true. So the next person that gets the shaft is Louise Messenger, who is Katie Underwood's best friend from school camp or whatever,
right. Yep.
from the few episodes ago. And she's just such a ball of energy and such a great personality. She's just sunshine, rainbow, and lollipops, and I kind of love that. And she welcomes, I think it's Chris Moss into her house, maybe. I'm not sure which one it is. I can't remember. And then she welcomes them in, and it's this whole thing of like she's bubbly and buoyant. And anyway, basically, they start telling her that, their experience of trying to decide who's in the group. And she starts by going, I don't envy you at all. Anyway, whoever it is just kind of interrupts and stops her there and then says, look, you're not in the band. And she goes, oh, thank you so much. I've had such a hard week or a couple of weeks, where I've been really just trying to decide what I want for my life. A weight's been lifted. I'm really proud of myself and how I've done. I've done damn well. And she has to get to this point. Oh, I can see here from the notes it was Jackie O. Great. Okay. Thank you for that. Jackie O. So Jackie O's had that conversation with her. And I think she handled it so,
graciously.
Positively. And, And Jackie O's fabulous, by the way. Can I just say that Jackie O is sitting there in this little yellow singlet with a long pink skirt. It's so 2000s, and it is so fabulous at the time.
The whole show, I mean, because obviously it's filmed over a few different days and she changes her outfit, and the whole time you're just like, oh, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, you've got a cute little wardrobe at home, haven't you, Tal?
Yeah, maybe she's got one of those computers like Cher from
Clueless.
Clueless.
You mentioned that last episode of Pretty Alexia as well. You've got an obsession with this moment in Clueless of Alicia Silverstone. Was Alicia Silverstone your crush in the 90s?
No, I don't think so. I think I was a movie fan, and Clueless was a good movie.
Brilliant movie. And Paul Rudd before Paul Rudd was as famous as he is now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in his like check flanny shirt.
Such a babe. Josh, her brother Josh.
Yeah, that's right.
So look, anyway, then we've got Jackie O in her cute little outfit, and she's walking down this sort of driveway with this like random unit block after she's sort of delivered the harsh news to Louise Messenger. And she just kind of strolls down and she's talking to the camera. She walks down sort of this driveway with, the little bit of strip of lawn down the middle of it. It's that kind of a thing. And it's kind of quaint and all of that. And you kind of feel a bit relieved, actually, that Louise took it so well because, she was really great. And actually, do you know what Louise is doing now?
I have no idea.
I did a bit of an internet stalk. She does have her own website, louisemessenger.com. And she actually lives in London now.
Fancy.
She sings jazz. She's got a full-on, career singing at various different, pubs and events and,
cool.
swing groups and jazz groups. And, she's performed all around Europe and done all this different stuff. And she's, a lot of stage stuff, cabaret stuff, performed at the Fringe Festival in Adelaide and various different, places around the traps.
Yeah.
So I think good on her, really. She's had a fabulous career post this.
Yeah. And another one who I thought had a bit of a like jazzy voice was Lee Shorten, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure she's gone on to do a bunch of stuff afterwards. But she'd also, they revealed that beforehand she'd been Posh Spice. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, she'd played the character of Posh Spice basically in the touring production of the Spice Girls review, which, by the way, I went and saw at the Derwent Entertainment Centre.
Of course.
So I loved it, by the way. And I actually think I still have the concert program from the Spice Girls tribute show.
Oh my God.
And maybe I think it was called Girl Power. I think that's what it was called. And I've got the actual ticket stub still.
Oh, that rings a bell.
And it was so exciting because it was the closest thing you'd ever get to the actual Spice Girls.
Right. They weren't, the actual Spice Girls didn't come to Hobart? Or?
No, they didn't. They absolutely didn't. No. Surprise to anybody listening, the Spice Girls never quite made it to Tasmania. But I love that, she opens the door to Michael Napthali and she says, "You're late."
Yeah,
and
that's right.
it's actually delivered in almost like quite a direct. It's a little bit too assertive, I think, for my liking. But anyway, "You're late."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, yep, cool." And he goes and he rejects her and she's like, "Yeah, okay, cool, whatever." And she takes it like a real pro. And when he leaves, Michael Napthali, when he leaves having just, rejected her, he says, some of these girls are like seasoned campaigners and it becomes second nature to accept another failed audition. That's showbiz. And I'm like, I mean, it's true. You do get used to rejection. It's part of the part of the deal, right? But I love that, a failed audition. I don't know. If you don't get a part, is a failed audition? Is an audition failed? I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think an audition is failed because you don't get the part.
Yeah. It felt a bit to me, that one, like, when someone sticks a camera in your face and asks you a question and you sort of flounder
like Vox Pop.
Say something intelligent. Yeah.
It did.
I think he was put on the spot and he didn't really come up with the goods.
I agree with you because I actually think of, if you got to this point, thousands of girls auditioned. I don't think this is a failure at all. And I think she's gone on to do some bits and pieces. I think she had a guest role on Home and Away, and she's probably still working doing other things. So Lee Shorten's probably not worried about it.
Yeah, it's funny. I just don't feel like, compared to someone like Katie Underwood, Lee didn't feel like she had that je ne sais quoi, the X factor, something extra. I reckon, like, good solid performer, you put her in a Posh Spice show and she'll do brilliant job every night exactly the same way, But a star, I don't know.
I think you could be right. I mean, I think that's part of it, isn't it? You can kind of see that, I think, when the five that they do pick, the way that they are when the way they react to it, and the way that they are engaging with the judges, you can just see there's a personality difference that with those girls versus the girls who are rejected.
The one thing I wanted to ask you about Lee as well was, did you spot she was wearing reefs, and did you ever own a pair?
Oh, firstly, no, I didn't own a pair. No, I didn't spot them.
I definitely had
I didn't
some
own a
reefs.
pair. You would have owned a pair, wouldn't you?
I had some cheap Kmart rip-off
Gross.
reefs, yes. I knew you'd hate
Absolutely
them.
gross. How hideous.
And then I think, is Jodie Joy Smith the last one?
Yeah, I think she's the last one to get knocked back.
Who we've never really met.
No, she's got quite a bit of confidence, and we've never really met her. So it's kind of weird that she opens the door to whoever it is, whichever judge, and she sort of sticks her head out and she goes, "You can only come in if it's good news," which is weird and a strange thing to say. Obviously, she's pretty confident thinking she's going to get in. And she's got so much makeup on.
Right, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like she looks like she walked into a department store and tripped over every cosmetics counter and walked out with whatever was left on her face. There is so much makeup on her face. It's like stage makeup. And it's true. And they sit there and they sit on a futon to have a chat about her experience and before they reject her.
There was clearly a sale on futons at the time because everyone seems to have one.
Everybody had a futon, and they're so uncomfortable. If you've ever sat on or slept on a futon, they're so not the tea.
Yeah, there was about a month where I slept on a futon. And I think if you remember from an earlier mini-sode, was it?
Yes.
I was talking about I'd slept in a hammock and I slept in a nest.
In a wading pool.
Yeah, in a wading pool.
A nest.
And actually the futon was 100 times more uncomfortable than both those things.
I bet.
It's so terrible.
Yeah, so terrible. And they were obviously the same futon. I don't know if it was one company, because the one that they sit on at this Jodie Joy Smith's house is exactly the same one as my sister had. So I feel like
it was exactly the same as the one I slept on. And
go.
I think actually my place in Redfern, that I can't remember if you came to or not, but that we had that exact same one in the red. And I think it was just like a cheap bit of furniture that was good for students because you could fit like 4 or 5 people on it to watch a movie, and then you can fold it down if someone needs to stay over because
they're drunk.
But so uncomfortable, awful, and I'm sure I have residual back issues from those days.
The futons. But it's weird. This whole scene is weird because this Jodie Joy Smith thing, like, we've never really seen her. It's so strange that they bother. And I thought it was quite strange because the apartment is pitch black dark, and they've had to like spotlight her as if she's like a possum that they're hunting in the bush. It's so fucking strange. She's sitting there and somebody's like they've like flashed her with a spotlight. It's so weird. And what was really strange about it too was it was like there was another shot, like a wide shot, and the camera was in the back corner of the room. And so you got a bit of footage of the guy with the boom mic holding it towards them on the couch, her and the judge on the couch. And it was kind of strange because it was a bit like, oh, is this a multi-camera thing? Or like, what was the point of that establishing shot? It was really, really weird. But they were fully like brightly lit up with this spotlight. It was very fucking strange. I don't know why they were doing all of this in pitch black darkness. What was wrong with opening the curtains?
Well, clearly because it's supposed to be a surprise, they've just turned up and not thought about it. And like, if they'd had someone go in 10 minutes beforehand and gone, oh, let's open a window. We might get you sitting here. There's a bit more natural light, and then we'll just reinforce it with the possum light.
It was weird. It was weird because like, I feel like a lot of the girls that got rejected were in dark houses. It was dark rooms. It was quite strange. I don't know if they did all the girls that they were going to give the job to in the day, first up, and then they went and knocked back the rejects in the evening, like they were like second
in the
fiddle.
nighttime. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was that much planning that went into it.
I doubt it. It's true.
But I feel like Jodie Joy probably, out of all of them, took it the worst. Maybe I don't know if she was very happy.
Oh, she had a face on it like a slapped ass at the end. She really did. She was not happy. She's the only one that didn't. I mean, she took it fine, but she didn't take it very well, I have to say.
Yeah, so that's all the, let's not call them losers. Let's call them the contestants that didn't make it in.
The runners-up.
Yeah, the runners-up. There's a phrase for this already.
and they were all fantastic, and they obviously did a good job. They had to do a great job to get to where they were. So good on them. Good on you, girls.
And half of them go on to do Pop-Tarts anyway.
That's right.
They're fine. Yeah. And then the other half go on to do Neighbours and Home and Away.
But we need to talk about the winners because they're the girls that we are about to become best friends with.
I suppose we should. So I think the first one they go to is Sally.
Yeah,
Polaronis.
Sally Polaronis. They go to Adelaide to her family home, which is filled with just about every member of the Adelaide Greek community.
It is, isn't it? It's really nice to see her place, actually. It was very reminiscent of many of the family houses I visited.
I agree. I loved it. And the family are just so sweet. They're so excited, and she.
Oh, the dad crying with his little mullet.
He's just lovely, and all of them are. I think her sister speaks as well, and they're just also thrilled. And I think the dad or the sister maybe says, Sally started with the Johnny Young Talent School, and I think the dad talks about how she's just worked so hard and she's so talented, and it's just so lovely to see how proud they are of her, and she's obviously got a great personality as well.
Now, the Johnny Young Talent School, I never really understood. So was it just like a national school that people would go to, and then there was a television show about it? Or?
Yeah, so basically there was the TV show, Young Talent Time, hosted by Johnny Young, which is where we got, Tina Arena from, and a bunch of different people, including international icon and treasure, Danny Minogue.
Oh, so Danny, but not Kylie.
Danny, but not. In fact, here's a bit of trivia for you. Danny had Kylie come on because Danny was the big star, not Kylie.
All right.
I mean, we could do a whole podcast series on my undying, unadulterated love for Danny Minogue.
You might need a different co-host for that.
That's right. I'll just educate you. I'll educate the people of the world on Danielle Jane Minogue. But Danny had Kylie come on. It's Danny's sister, Kylie, and they sang "Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves." Check it out on YouTube. So the Young Talent Time show was one component, but then they had the Johnny Young Talent School, and that was all around the country, and it was basically local talent school for kids in theatre and singing, dancing, acting, and they'd go and do the same stuff that you and I would have done in little workshops and stuff.
And was Johnny Young different to John Paul Young?
Totally different person.
So who's Johnny Young?
And Johnny Young is Johnny Young of the Johnny Young Talent School.
Was he one of what's the band that did Friday on My Mind?
Not a fucking clue. Who did Friday on My Mind?
Easy Beats.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not
or
sure.
Or AC/DC? Was he in AC/DC?
No. John Paul Young is John. You don't need me to tell you who John Paul Young is. Love is in the Air.
Yeah, Love is in the Air. Yeah, but who's Johnny Young? Who the hell was he?
Johnny Young is an Australian singer, a record producer, disc jockey, television producer, and host. Originally from Rotterdam in the Netherlands, his family settled in Perth in Western Australia in the 1950s.
What did he do?
What can I tell you about him? I can't tell you much about him.
Well, yeah. I'm not impressed.
Oh, look, here you go. He had a career in the 1960s as a pop singer and a number one hit with the double A-side Step Back and a cover of the Strange Loves, Cara Lynn. So, I don't really know.
No wonder I haven't heard of him.
But his big claim to fame was the show.
Anyway, so Sally, she was of the Johnny Young Talent School. Lucky her. There's a great scene where they go to her workplace because clearly she's still got her retail job.
Oh, yeah.
And she's been working for Esprit. What did you make of that whole scene?
Firstly, as somebody who's spent their entire career working in retail until very recently, that would never happen. No state manager is ever that friendly, firstly, to say, oh, we rostered her off just so we knew that we had so much confidence in her. Bullshit. I call bullshit. Also, can I just say I worked for Esprit for a couple of, I don't know, maybe like 6 weeks, and it was the worst working experience of my entire life.
Really?
The people that worked there were so cruel and awful. So I cannot imagine. And it was probably around, it would have been a little bit after this time. Different location, of course. But I cannot imagine anybody at Esprit being that kind and accepting of, we rostered her off so she could get the part and be available for you. And Sally rocks up to sort of go, I don't want to interrupt them because they're working. Thought, yeah, poor love, you probably don't because you're going to get reamed for this later. But
one of them does make a joke like, sorry, you're going to have to give 2 weeks notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you think that was not a joke?
I bet that wasn't a joke. I bet you she was serious. I guarantee you it was totally serious. I bet you they made that poor girl work out 2 weeks.
While we're at it, are there any other retail brands you want to rag?
Do you know what? I'll tell you what. There are plenty of them. That's probably a mini-sode. I was so excited to work for Esprit, but I unfortunately had a really bad experience there. And it was basically the one that I worked in was looked after by a bunch of power tripping shop girls, basically. And it was, I hope that those people in that store have gone on to terrible, terrible things. I hope they're living in, the boondocks. I hope they're living in absolute squalor. And I hope their careers died 1,000 deaths. They were awful to me, and I don't mind telling you.
Let it all out. Maybe we should move on. The next one, we all knew that Sophie was going to get in at the time, I think. Sure. So it was no big surprise when Michael Napthali goes to visit her. And bless Sophie, she seems like she's like genuinely thrilled and surprised by the news and very humbled by it.
Yeah, it's so sweet. And she does seem so genuine about it. And, we get that little snippet of her singing Happy Birthday, Mr. President in the style of Marilyn Monroe. And we hear a little bit about how she was dancing for 14 years and singing for 9. And apparently she was a trained acrobat or something. So that's something I completely didn't remember or know.
Does she still do that on Beauty and the Geek?
No, I have no idea. But I was like, really? She was an acrobat? Okay. We're going to have to find out. We're going to have to do some Googling. We're going to have to get Sophie on the show and ask her about it. She's just sort of just so casual and quite delightful. She's got her sunnies just sort of shoved on her head. And I don't know why everyone's wearing sunglasses inside. But
it's Queensland.
It's so funny because she goes, you can stay now and have some cookies, which I just love. It's just like, you can imagine she meant it like genuinely. She's like, we can get the bickies out now. And they've probably been put in a cupboard with a bit of Glad wrap on them and they brought out a plate with them.
The Kingstons with the Glad wrap over them. Yeah.
And the family there, and it's quite lovely. And the dad, she loves the stage. She loves the lights. And, you can kind of tell that now, obviously, because, she's managed to pivot her career in so many different ways and been pretty reactive to what, is working for her in her career. So I think that's kind of true of her. And obviously they could see that when she was a kid. And they make her awkwardly sit there and watch a video of her first to Stedford that she was in.
I find that whole thing embarrassing. It's like we need to suddenly introduce these people to the world.
Yeah.
I know. I've got a really quick idea that I haven't thought through. Let's find a childhood video of them.
Oh, totally. It's so strange. And she's sort of sitting there watching it with everybody around her watching. It's just so awkward. And she's so proud. She says, I went in the paper for that. I went in the paper because I lost my certificate or something it was. And
there's this whole random story that should have been cut.
It should not have been in at all. It was so weird.
So
and awkward. I love that she then says, I'm not very academic. It's all I can do.
Yeah.
Which is just, firstly, it's amazing. It's a great self-awareness. And I think it's interesting because now what we know of Sophie Monk and what she's become, it's good to have that self-awareness, and clearly she does, and that's why she's, parlayed her career into several different ventures over the years. And I love that when Michael Napthali kind of walks out, he says in the driveway, she obviously feels very comfortable around people. She's not deathly serious. She's like Wham, which I love. It's such a weird
great reference after he's been talking about rock in this previous little.
She's like Wham, and he says, Sophie's perfect for that and her talent is self-evident. I think that's true. But she's got this really great relaxed energy about her in that moment.
Have you noticed there's this like little weird bit when she's getting the news that she's in where they just zoom in on her holding this guy's hand as well? Like guy sitting, like clearly it's her boyfriend or something like that.
Mm.
And it's just very, I don't know why they do it, but I think maybe it ties in with what Chris Moss was saying to them a couple of episodes ago.
About where the boyfriends.
Yeah, you're going to have to give up your boyfriends and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it was just this weird little moment where you're like, they've put that shot in for a purpose.
Yeah, that's true because You didn't see boyfriends of the other girls. So maybe at this time she was the only one with a boyfriend or something, and that's why they kind of did it.
Although some of the others, not all of them have their families around them as well.
Yeah, that's
some of them
true.
don't still live at home and stuff. So I don't know. So every time you see Sophie's house, there seems to be a crowd of about 20 sitting in this.
And all those rugs, those blankets covering everything. So then we've got Chantel Barry, 19-year-old Chantel Barry, who just weeks ago moved to Sydney. This is what the narrator says, from Perth. And Jackie O rocks up to give her the news. And it's really strange because she tries to play this really cute act with this, sad look on her face. She walks in all somber and she kind of goes through this whole little spiel, and she tries to kind of bait Chantel into thinking that she's not in.
And it doesn't work.
No.
And it almost upsets Chantel that that's how she was told, I reckon. Like, she's a bit like, why the hell did you do that?
I agree. She looks quite miffed about
But she's having to still smile for the camera.
It's so weird. And then Jackie's like, oh, I'm so sorry, ha, ha, ha. And I think, oh, poor Jackie, again, she's been put up to this. This has been something that somebody said, all right, Jackie, you haven't done it well enough yet. This is the time. You're going to do it now. Go in and do it exactly like this.
And then they go into the house and there are about 12 flatmates sitting around and they all sort of, scurry away out of the shot of the camera. And you can just tell, there's it's one of those typical, student-y houses where the smell is just going to be like old towels and pot, Which actually Jackie O's probably used to from sitting next to Kyle.
Firstly, I guarantee you that Kyle Sandilands does not smell like pot and old towels. They would be beautiful, fluffy, luxurious towels, and it wouldn't be pot that he smells of.
And Armani Code.
Probably be something fancy.
But I thought Chantel has a really nice energy. I think she's just super confident. I mean, you see in her first audition, they sort of go, what do you think we're looking for? And she just looks at them and goes, Me.
Yeah.
And whether it's cockiness or self-assuredness, compared to someone like Lee that we were talking about earlier, where I just sort of thought she doesn't quite have that energy. I think Chantel's probably got it. So I can really see why they probably, ushered her into the band.
I'm not really a fan of that attitude in auditions. It's not just specifically about Chantel, it's just anybody. I don't like hearing when movie stars kind of tell a story about their fabulous, audition, and they walk into somewhere and they're so direct and they go, I'm going to be your Cleopatra. That is just annoying to me. I really can't stand that level of I don't think it's confidence. I know that you just said it was. I think it's so fucking arrogant, and I think it's so douchey, and I think it's been done to fucking death.
There's the famous one of Robin Williams where it was for Mork and Mindy, I guess, and, they said, we're looking for an alien, and, they've seen 100 people already or whatever, and then he comes in and they go, all right, can you sit down for us? And he goes and he sort of sat in the chair upside down, and that was the whole audition. They were like, we found our alien, because he was the only one that, sat upside down in the chair.
Well, see, that's different. That's fine, because that's like a performance thing. That's part of his performance that made him stand out. That's genius. But I can't handle when people are like, they walk in and they actually they stare people down. They kind of go, I'm going to be your whatever. I am your whatever. Or what do you think sets you apart for XYZ to be this person, this character? And they go, I am this person. It's like, fuck off, you loser. One of the things that is so cringy that drives me to fucking distraction is audition stories, so bad. And how you got famous. The whole story about Delta Goodrem sending her demo to Glenn Wheatley?
No?
Wrapping it in Sydney Swans wrapping paper because she knew that Glenn Wheatley loved Sydney Swans? Fuck off. What a load of absolute pig shit that is. Who fucking believes that?
Didn't someone, Kesha or someone like that, broke into Prince's house and left a single or something?
Kesha did.
That could be, hang on.
I think you probably need to Google that before you go accusing people of breaking and entering.
Yeah, let's call that one a fiction for now. And, the Prince, it was, they're all imaginary characters. Let's move on.
So let's move on to Belinda Chappell, who,
She sort of comes across a bit cocky as well, in a way.
Does, doesn't she? But also she's 24, so she's older. So she's had a lot more experience. She's not as young and naive as the other girls who are receiving the camera crew in their house. She's, 24, and she's a bit more, the narrator sort of says, she's a singer, dancer, and model. She's had a lot of experience doing a lot of things. So I guess in a way, this is just a bit of par for the course for her. But it's nighttime. It's quite strange and it's quite weird. And when they go in the house, you know, there's some woman sitting on the floor on a phone call. Like
on the old Telstra standard issue.
Yeah,
phone.
like it's so weird. They walk into the lounge room to talk to Belinda, and there's this random woman just sitting on the floor on a white slimline telephone, chatting away to somebody with the cord stretched right out. And Belinda just sits on the perches on the couch with Michael Napthali. It's so weird. It's so strange. But I will say, Belinda's hair is so 2000s. It's so fabulous.
And I think it was the whole time through Bardot as well. Like she was very, very like exactly on point, I think, the whole time.
And actually, I think I remember, and now you've watched a few episodes ahead, so this might not be very fair for you to say, but I remember from 20 years ago watching it for the first time that there's a scene, there's a montage of all the girls getting their hair cut and coloured at some point, and I remember her getting sort of what they refer to as caramel streaks or caramel highlights.
Oh, right.
And I remember,
yeah, this doesn't ring a bell.
I might be wrong. I'm sure it's her. I'm sure it's this show, and they give her caramel highlights. They talk about them, and I remember Katie Underwood getting her hair dyed really, really, really red, and all of them kind of having this different haircut done. And I just have these real memories of Belinda's hair being just fabulous the whole time.
I like to, you can sort of see the couch they're sitting on. There are, you know, the cushions are all matched and arranged nicely, and the couch matches the curtain, like the curtain's hanging off the thing of it. But you can sort of see perhaps the beginning of her interior design career that she went on to after.
That's probably true, you know. I mean, she's probably, actually that's true. Aesthetically, she's probably got that whole thing down pat, you know, it's something that's in her. And I love that Michael Napthali he really hits the nail on the head, you know. You know, she's going to be a natural. She looks great. She's going to add a lot to the group. And of course she does, and she is an absolute natural. And you can just kind of tell that she's that, in a way, she's kind of that, not the captain of the ship, but you can just kind of tell that she's really got that stability, and she's got that skill, and she's got that determination and focus. That's kind of my impression of her anyway.
And a little bit more maturity, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's the benefit of age, I guess.
Her reaction, I think it was a bit of a scandal at the time, because she just sort of claps a little bit and goes, "Oh, yay," when the news is broken to her. Was there, do you think they did a retake?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
I watched it back and I was like, oh, she's not very shocked, or she's not very excited, or she's not very happy. It's just a bit more like,
oh, yay.
The look on her face, she's waiting for it to be said, and she's like, oh, great, that's really great. Like, yeah. She gets her mum on the phone, and
that's right, yeah.
She's like, oh, I'm going to have to call you back, mum, afterwards. But yeah, okay then, bye. And she hangs up, and it's I don't know, it just feels kind of a bit underwhelming and a bit, I don't know. I do think it probably was a second take, I think.
Yeah, they must have redone it, I think, because as if you just go, oh, yay, you know, clap a little bit.
Oh, yay, and this little like playful kind of like weird sort of half clap things, opera claps. It was very strange. And because she's too confident for that reaction. I don't buy that reaction from Belinda.
No, I don't either. I'm glad you said that. And the polar opposite of that, I guess, is Katie Underwood's reaction.
What a great reaction.
I mean, first of all, the way Jackie O tells her she's in is really awkward, because she just kind of goes, oh, you know, I've got this little plane ticket here for you. And Katie just looks at it confused, and then opens it up, and she's like, oh, is this a like reveal, you know, the winner is sort of envelope thing? And Jackie O sort of just goes, oh, maybe, you know, we'll have a look. And then Katie gets the ticket out, and she's like, Jackie O has to go, it's a ticket to Sydney. And Katie's still confused. And then Jackie goes, because you're in the group.
You're in the group.
And then finally.
It's so weird, isn't
awkward.
it? It's just such it's just such a not well executed moment.
Yeah, dreadful.
And not well received either. I suppose that's part and parcel because it's a delivery. But I mean, I love Katie Underwood in that moment. She looks so fucking good. Oh, her outfit's great. And I mean, again, I think she's a little bit older than the other ones, the younger ones. And she's in this really lovely home. And when she gets the actual words from Jackie O, you're in the group, her screaming, and she jumps up and she's so excited. Now, that's the reaction that I wanted from all of them. Like, I mean, you're being handed this incredible opportunity. This was so genuine to me anyway.
It's like there's 5 seconds of unbridled joy that suddenly comes out of her.
And then she just sort of sits back down and she kind of goes very deadpan, I'm very happy about this. Like, I love it so much. Like, it's so perfect. And then she says to her mum, oh, open up the wine. I think I'll have that wine now, whatever. And her mum is, you know, she opens up this champagne and whatever, and she pours a glass. Her mum is fabulous. What a babe her mum is. Katie Underwood's mum, don't you think? Oh,
Yeah, and then her dad Larry comes in and he does not want to be on television.
yeah. Larry
And,
the
you know,
librarian or something. He just sort of shuffles in
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, that's really fantastic news. And off he goes and he has a drink with them and he just seems so friendly and lovely and sweet and all that stuff.
He does. He's so proud, isn't he?
is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I tell you
he's
what,
the most Adelaide-looking man ever.
very.
But he's clearly so happy.
He's the
for his
most
daughter.
Adelaide-looking man, and her mum is the most non-Adelaide-looking woman. She is fucking fabulous. If they did a Real Housewives of Adelaide in the year 2000, Mrs. Katie Underwood, the mum, fucking sign her up.
So I thought we could talk quickly about a topic that I'm very well versed in, is rejection and failure, which I've seen a lot of in my time.
Sure.
I don't know how many emails I've had. Thank you for your submission. As you can understand, we're very busy at the time,
Yeah.
And, I'm sure you've had your fair share, but have you, because you've done like bigger sort of management roles than I have probably, have you ever had to tell people that they haven't got a job?
Oh, like not even bullshitting. Probably hundreds of times at this point.
Really?
Yeah, 100.
All right.
I mean, my whole career's been in retail, and I would say, I don't know, 17 years in retail, I'd have to have rejected, 500 people probably.
So what's your tactic?
Well, I think you have to be really transparent and honest and give some clear feedback. I, as a candidate myself, hate not getting feedback. I hate not getting told why I didn't get the job. I don't like being told, sort of a half-assed excuse. So I've always really tried to kind of give some kind of depth and meaning to the knockback. I mean, it's not perfect every time. Of course, it can't be, but I think, you got to kind of approach it fairly and, explain to somebody why they did miss the mark on this occasion. And sometimes it's not about that person. Sometimes it's just that somebody else was better.
Yeah. Should we let it play out? So do you want to pretend you're calling me?
Do you want?
Yeah.
What is the job that you're going for?
So it was for, I don't know what's the retail job, stacking the shelves in the back, something.
Okay, well that would be like a stock coordinator or stock controller. Or do you want to be a shop person? You want to be somebody on the floor?
Well, neither really, but I prefer not have to see the customers.
Okay, so you want to be a stock controller.
Yeah,
And
let's go
we're
with that.
presuming that you've got no experience like you haven't.
Yeah, no experience.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go ring, ring,
Okay.
ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, is this Alex?
Hi, yeah, this is Alex.
Hi, Alex. This is Alexander calling from Fruity Alexia. How you going?
Oh, very good. Yeah, I was really hoping to hear from you.
It's been a couple of days since we last met and talked through your last interview, and we've had a lot of people to meet, and it's been fantastic meeting everybody for the role.
Great.
Look, we had great applicants, great candidates, and we love meeting with you, and we think you have some fantastic skills. Unfortunately, though, we have actually offered the position to somebody else.
Oh.
And that's really because that person had, some fantastic skills in that space. And that's not to say that you didn't. It's just that this person had, some skills that perhaps were more applicable.
So what skills were those that I didn't have then?
Well, the fact that you've had absolutely no stock controlling experience in your career.
Yeah, but is it really that hard?
Yes, it is. Do you know what? There are people who work in retail listening to this podcast right now who are seething at this.
Yeah.
It is, retail.
Well, this isn't, in the reality of the podcast, though, this is a call still. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So sorry. I've taken us out of it. Taken us out of it. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Let me just go back, put my game face back on. Sorry.
What skills did they have that I didn't have that, I can work on for next time?
I just want everybody listening to know that Alex has put me on the spot here and we've got no background, so I don't have a resume that I can read from. Okay, what skills didn't you have? I'm going to have to make them up.
Controlling stock?
So, look, we had some people who applied for the role who, the person we've offered it to has come from a similar retailer, and they have some experience in this space, working in stock rooms. And, at the point we are in the business, with everything that's happening in the retail environment right now, we really need to, make sure that we found the right person. We also, just feel that perhaps from a, personality and cultural fit, perhaps, we needed somebody, who was more aligned to the management style of the team, the leadership team we have in that store.
Right. And what style was that? Was I too friendly?
I don't know. I wouldn't say you were that friendly.
Was my CV too good? What did I do wrong?
What did you do wrong?
Yeah.
I can tell you now,
Yeah, go
nobody
for it.
asks this many questions when they're rejected. No, they just immediately accept it and they're like, okay, and they hang up and then they swear about you behind your back. Oh, it's hardly squirming. And
Yeah.
if this was a real thing and somebody kept asking me questions like this,
Yeah.
I would have no problem at one point saying to them, Alex, as I've explained, unfortunately the role has been offered to somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that this is not, you've not taken this very well. And, I hope you can understand where I'm coming from, where we're coming from with the information we've given you. And we really wish you all the best, with your future endeavors.
Yeah.
And so I actually have to jump on another call now. So if you'll excuse me, enjoy the rest of your day. And I'd probably just end it and shut it down because people never ever ask all these questions. People are always just like, fine, I've been rejected at the end. You know what I mean? They just accept it.
So you've never had to get to the point where you're like, okay, you stank of garlic, you hadn't brushed your hair, you weren't wearing any shoes. That's why we didn't hire you.
Not for those exact reasons, but I've certainly told people that they've come for a job to work in beauty and cosmetics and they have come with no makeup on.
Right, yeah.
When they've asked, for questions, they've asked why, specifically, part of the role requires you to wear makeup. You turned up to your interview with no makeup, which is obviously very important to us because you're going to be selling a makeup product and we've seen you, without any makeup on. How are we supposed to know that you can do makeup?
This explains so much as to why I'm not getting jobs at the moment. I'm not wearing any makeup. It's hard.
We have, what did you say?
I was going to say it's hard not dancing every time that comes up, actually. Even if I do say so myself.
Whenever that music comes on, I just think I'm immediately transported to like some trashy gay bar. And I'm, 20 years ago, and I'm like drunk drinking blue curacao and lemonade. Blue curacao, and lemonade.
Oh, good. Well, that's exactly what it was designed for, to transport people back to an earlier time.
Well, and it transports me, and I thank you for that. So look, those of you listening at home, we have an Instagram. So send us a DM, squirt us a like. Squirt us a like.
Yeah. Just if anyone missed this last time, that's Alexander being very professional and reading straight off the script. And I always put in this stupid word there to try and trip him up.
Look, I am a professional. So we have an Instagram. Send us a DM. Squirt us a like. There you go. Fine. Use that cut. Use that take instead. I can do it.
So once you've squirted the like, follow the link in the description of this very podcast to our Acast support page. And I don't really know, what do people, if they send us money, what are they getting out of it? Hours and hours of free entertainment is my answer.
Well, they're buying into the dream. The Fruity Alexia dream. They're buying into a friendship that has withstood the test of time.
Exactly.
And I think there are very few people who have friendships that have remained as strong and as close as ours over this period of time. And, geographic distance and, all sorts of different things. And so people are buying into our dream.
And it's getting very, very testing, and we really need to start getting paid in order to keep it going, I think.
What, the friendship?
The friendship. The podcast's fine, but the friendship definitely.
Oh, look, I don't doubt it, actually. There are many times where I've thought over the years, I've thought, God, Alex really deserves to be paid to be my friend. And there are people listening to this who are like nodding, going, yeah. But look, new episodes of Fruity Alexia are published every Friday with minisodes on Tuesday.
And, I've lost my train of thought. Clearly it's getting to the end of the podcast because my brain is tying itself up into little knots. In radio, they have a song every, 5 minutes so they can, have a breather. They can think about what they're saying. They can work out what went wrong and what they can do better in the next bit. We just do this in one block. It's exhausting.
I mean, whilst that is true, radio is live. This is not live. So you can cut and edit this however you like. You can at any time just take a breather and say, Alexander, I just need a break. So I don't know why you're bitching and moaning about it. You could have had a break this whole fucking time, but you haven't.
Yeah. It's true. I guess I'm just not used to talking. Like I remember earlier in the year, working from home, no one else was in the house for a couple of days. I literally didn't speak to anyone for 2.5 days, and I lost my voice and it went croaky. And I went to talk to people afterwards, and like I got really raspy after about half an hour of chatting. Anyway, that's enough about me.
And now here you are. And then your solution for that was to start a podcast.
Exactly, yeah. It's really just so I can get my vocal cords warmed up again.
And how's that going for you?
Oh, look, it's going okay. I'm also trying to fix my posture at the moment, so everything's sore. Have you ever tried to do that? I'm trying to get my shoulders back, and it's a nightmare anyway. But
I have tried to do that. Perhaps you should go to the chemist and get yourself a back brace or something.
Yeah, I'm wearing one right now. It's very discreet. Can you see? Put it under my jumper. Anyway, this is not a visual medium, so no one else would have seen that.
Visual for me.
Everyone else is just going to have to imagine it. Well, that's probably enough rabbiting on for now. You've got to get to work. I've got to go and do my yoga videos and edit the podcast.
It's true.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do today.
There is a lot to do. All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye. See you later.
Can you feel it? Frankie, can you feel it? Can you feel it? Frankie, can't keep a good woman down. Hey.
More aligned to the management style of the team, the leadership team we have in that store.
Right. And what style is that? Was I too friendly? Was I too?
No, I wouldn't say you were that friendly. I wouldn't say you were. I'm going to sneeze. I said to sneeze, sorry.
Was my CV too good? What did I do wrong?
What did you do wrong?
Yeah.
I can tell you now,
Yeah,
nobody asks this many questions when they're rejected. No, they just immediately accept it and they're like, okay, and they hang up and then they swear about you behind your back.
All right.